This video is brought to you by the official Flashy Instagram. Follow Flashy Magazine for all things music, pop culture, and fashion. Katy Perry has been in the pop music game for a long time. She is, to a lot of us, a zeitgeist of the early 2010s, a moment in time where life felt a lot less stressful. It's not hard to see that times have changed since then, and inevitably so has Katy. Turning away from the party music she once created, in 2017 she famously branded her fourth studio album as purposeful pop. It was a term that many publications consider to be the catalyst for the stark underperformance of the album, and led to an obsession on whether Katy Perry would ever make a #1 hit again. And while it's only been a week since she released her most recent effort, Smile, fans and critics alike have not let this topic die down. So let's just get the elephant out of the room. Smile in no way has amassed the same level of success as her previous efforts. And while that may not be the answer everyone wants to hear, I could tell you that despite the amount of hate Katy gets, this album is not trash. In fact, if you're an avid pop music listener, I think you would really like it. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Katy's career from a holistic perspective, as well as discuss why I would consider Smile an underrated album. Let's get into it. Something that I think many people don't realize about Katy Perry's career is that she didn't just pop out of nowhere in 2008 singing about kissing girls. In fact, Katy's first album is a gospel record, titled after her real name, Katherine Hudson. Let it be known that the reason this album even exists is because Katy comes from an extremely religious background. Her parents were traveling ministers that restricted her from a lot of popular culture during her childhood. For example, she wasn't allowed to eat Lucky Charms because the word luck reminded her mom of Lucifer. It was excessive to say the least, but fast forward 5 years, and Katy was a completely different person. Her first single to ever take off was probably the most promiscuous song of my childhood, and that was I Kissed a Girl. The track was a good representation of what Katy would represent in the 2010s. Undeniably catchy, but a little bit risky. Katy's second album, titled Teenage Dream, would continue this trend. Just from the cover art alone, you can see how Katy intermixes elements of adult fantasy with childhood nostalgia, essentially reaching every demographic available. This record also marked a new standard of success for Katy, with 5 singles going #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. To put that into perspective, Michael Jackson was the only other artist to have that accomplishment with his 1987 album Bad. Katy's success would only continue with her 2013 record Prism. It was a disco-inspired album that showcased Katy's mastery of the pop music formula, and is in my opinion her magnum opus. I even rank it #1 on the Katy Perry album's ranked video. It just seemed that nothing could possibly go wrong in Katy's career. She was at that point where her legacy was just finally being cemented. But then she dropped Witness, an album that attempted to destroy the sex symbol we once knew and introduce a more politically aware Katy. She played with more experimental sounds, and for a variety of reasons that we'll get into in another video, people didn't like it. It only sold about 1 million copies in its year of release, which was considered a commercial failure to Katy's standards. Due to the low sales of the album and public backlash, Katy fell into a deep depression to the point where she had to be on medication for it. It's through that depression that Katy conceived her latest record, Smile, an album filled with empowering pop songs that speak about Katy's journey to regaining her mental health. Now, upon first hearing the album, I actually got really excited because it felt like Katy listened to her fans and created a simple, upbeat pop album. Songs like Cry About It Later and Champagne Problems were so catchy and honestly reminded me a lot of the old Katy. The only issue I could find with the record is the timing of its release. I understand that Katy had no control over the events that would occur in the world when putting out this record, but at the same time, some of the songs just come off incredibly awkward when you put it in a 2020 context. The prime example of this is the 6th track, where she states, "It's not the end of the world, no, not the end of the world. Throw on your fancy attire, fears in the fire, don't lose hope. It's no funeral we're attending, actually just the beginning." This album would have benefited heavily if it was put out at a later time. But then again, Katy has made it very clear that she doesn't care about chart success and isn't striving for a #1 record. She just wants to put her story out there and is hoping her fans will connect with that. In conclusion, Katy Perry's album Smile is not bad by any means. I think once the hype over hating Katy is over, we're gonna see a lot of tweets and hashtags saying "Justice for Smile." It's an album that deserves more respect than it's getting right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up garnering a cult following in the future. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then consider supporting the channel by becoming a Patreon. For a monthly contribution, you can get access to some exclusive cool perks, like watching my videos early and picking out video topics. In fact, that's exactly how this video was chosen for this week. So I gotta give a quick shout out to my patrons Jeremiah Ruiz and Sub-Zero. Without your help, this channel would not exist. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. That's all I have. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll catch you with the next video real soon.